Aaron's controlling. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, press the button.
It's pressed.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. And the first item is the approval of the agenda order of business, and we've got some changes. Ed, letter from Lunenburg County Accessibility Advisory Committee. Yeah. Ed, council meeting on November the 16th. We're going to hold one because we need it. We weren't going to have one on that day. Workshop personnel. We got an email a few minutes ago or an invitation to a meeting on the 16th after the one that we have with.
This October 16th,
Yeah.
Monday night. After we meet with the quarterly meeting, we're going to come back here and do it.
We're having the quarterly meeting Monday out at East Chester Rec with highways, but then they need the building for bingo, so we have to come back here to have a personnel workshop.
Monday night.
Monday night.
Yeah.
That seems complicated.
Yeah, it is, but I don't know what else to tell you.
Well, we just go to a different building for the whole thing.
Well, what building, I guess.
We don't have a building to go to unless we rent somewhere, another space. We can see if we can find another space.
Okay.
But at the moment, the big thing is we're meeting with highways, and after it's over, we're gonna have a workshop on personnel.
It's not that.
No. And then 11.4 and 8.1, we're moving to correspondence. Because they're tied together with a piece of correspondence. That's it for me, I think. Does anybody else have any changes?
Yeah, I just spoke to Tara about it, maybe
Yeah.
sending a letter to Bell, whether it will do any good or not, but I'd like to have it sent, thank you.
Letter, okay.
We'll talk about it.
Send a letter to Ed Dillon.
Yeah.
See if it does any good.
Yeah.
Okay, is that it? Somebody want to move the approval as amended? If anybody can remember what it is?
I'll move.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Public input, and I believe there is one. Yes, come on up. Oh, we have two.
Sorry.
I think in the back, yeah.
Okay, sorry. I won't take up very much time. Thank you. Thank you, Warden. Good morning, Councilors and Warden. My name is Ray Cambria, 216 Central Street, Chester. I'm here to make a comment on item 9.1 on today's agenda, which is, I believe, the current list of J-class roads that you are looking at to cost share the resurfacing only with Public Works. Do I have that correct? I think I have that correct. That program is resurfacing only, as been discussed. It does not include any repairs to the road, shoulders, anything. Strictly resurfacing.
Yeah.
The item in question I'd like to comment on is the list shows that number 3 on the list is Valley Road. The criteria that you have established with staff for determining the priority of the list has some pretty basic things that are pretty understandable. One of like the volume of traffic, whether and so on. Valley Road is on the list at number 3, but there are 2 criteria that appear to relate to the existing condition of the road. One is called the ACR, the Asset Condition Report, ACR, the Asset Condition Report, and the other one is the Surface Condition Report.
Yes.
Both of those numbers for Valley Road are a 1, which means excellent. My only comment is, why is a road that has 1s across the board for the existing condition of the road number 3 on the list? That's all I'm asking. There are other roads that have 1s across the board for the existing condition. And not surprisingly, there's 68 roads on the list. From 49 to 68, the last bottom 20 all have ones across the board, which I'd expect, okay? Why would you resurface a road that has nothing wrong with it? One of the things that pushed Valley Road to near the top of the list was the fact that it's a school bus route. Well, if the road has 2 perfect scores for existing condition, why, I don't understand what a school bus route has to do with it. You know, to me, it shouldn't have made it sort of past, it shouldn't have made it on the short list if it has 2 ones. That's all I'll say, and I'll let it go. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. And you wanted to speak as well?
I'm scheduled for 9, sir.
Yeah, okay, no, okay. Okay, minutes of the,
I tried to call you last night. Yeah. I just saying to Andre, I agree with Ray.
yes, but it was just last week that we suggested that the condition be dropped in terms of
Yeah.
Well, we were talking last week about it was in bad condition.
it's on the agenda.
I know it.
Yeah,
I just Chance to debate.
yeah, I know.
Side
We're struggling with how we score.
No question.
about that.
No, it's fine.
Minutes of the previous meeting, canceled September 28th, errors or omissions.
I'll move we approve them.
Second. Discussion, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. We have no proclamations this morning?
No.
One of the odd days we
I
don't.
like to proclamations.
Committee reports, Lunenburg County Senior Safety, Councilor Connors.
Thank you. Amazing how fast a month can go by, really, right? These monthly reports when you receive them. But yeah, no, the report was included in your package, which we received on Friday. So you would have had a chance to take a read through, and any observations or comments or questions I would try to address. But business as usual. Again, doing great things. The numbers of, I shouldn't say amaze me, they actually make me sad, but that's the resource and the supports are there, so.
Yeah. Anyone, any questions for Tina? No. Okay, thank you. Are we ready for our public presentation? Yep. Okay. Beverly, hi. How are you? Haven't seen you in a while.
Well, lucky to be here.
Yeah, I know.
Every day is precious.
Yeah.
Live it to the max. Alan, councilors, I want to thank you very much for your patience with regards to the Countway Mosier home. It's been a bit of a personal battle for me for the last 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
And I've been advised not to be here this morning, but I'd like to personally thank you for your patience and understanding and putting up with our determination not to have this home torn down. Unfortunately, it's a sad day for us because we've come to the realization, after studying the place for over a year, doing countless trials and experiments to try to recover from the mold, which seems to be the real downfall of the building right now. Unfortunately, I think in hindsight, if I had been aware of the situation earlier, if we had been, I might have been able to rectify it. We might be having a different conclusion this morning, but the mold has basically won the war. I hate to admit defeat. And well, everything is doable, but then again, there was 2 aspects we looked at. What was the potential purpose of the building? Beautiful, beautiful home. Many have been inside it. It's just unbelievable that it's survived since 1839. Underwent restoration for a couple of attempts over the years, most recently by the latest curators.
Yeah.
And I assume that his heart and soul, both of them, were in the building, and the last thing they wanted to see was actually destroyed or torn down. There's a couple of things that came up. We were very close to doing a deal potentially with an art gallery, which seemed like a sensible solution for the beautiful building, if it could be recovered economically. Yeah. And that's where we ran into problems. We had potential artisans that were I would like to set up the place that we would continue to keep the building and have it useful, not just standing there. We don't need another dime donation, historic building. There had to be sensible use of the building. It seemed like an ideal match where we'd have seasonal work, artisans on display there. And unbelievably, of course, in a park-like setting.
Yeah.
I've got some potential suggestions going forward. Before we formalize the proposal for those, I just wanted to chat briefly on the building to council to try to understand what we can possibly do to, minimize the potential destruction of some things historic and to leave in its place a sensible monument. And there's some suggestions that have been there. Met with retired stonemasons, and they have a suggestion that the granite foundation on the building, which is intended under the tear down, that would not throw out any granite rocks. Technically speaking, with a granite foundation, there should be a 3-year moratorium on destruction of the property itself, but I don't think there.
I guess that would apply to my house then.
You're my next target. No, just kidding. No, I hate to see historic buildings go. As I said before, people don't travel to Venice to see the latest Costco or the newest condominium. And overall, if I live long enough, I'd like to see some sort of concrete liaison between council, development, and a new committee formed to truly oversee the historic ramifications of some of these buildings and the effects that it would have on the character of Chester. I've seen, since I've been here this time around, a number of buildings that have been torn down that I thought really didn't have proper historical reference and investigation done to them. And again, more so from the aesthetic value as well. And I've seen the development of a number of buildings that I really don't feel fit the aesthetics of Chester, and I think from a development standpoint, there should be more investigation into what's being built going forward. It's coming from, I'm a former councillor myself in Newfoundland, and I know we experienced many pull down buildings, with grandfather clocks and mahogany furniture still inside, done at 7:01 a.m. When by the time anybody knew what was happening, the D9s had been through the building. Yeah, it's just horrific, and that's the other aspect of this one. Is this too? As I said, it took almost 200 years to get the Cantway Mosher home where it is. Let's take another couple of months or a year or more than we did to really flush out is there any real potential. And thank you again for that opportunity. I've got a number of companies. I don't know, because of my health concerns, if I will continue on. I'm a member of the Chester Society as well. And I spoke with Carol. The original thing, I've got an individual that's prepared to, it's quite mold stricken, the contents right now. The cost of repairing an old chair to get it salvable for $50 or $100. But I do have an individual who's prepared to make a donation. I was going to initially split it with the other society, the South Shore Society and Chester Society, at $4,000 for the mold-ridden contents. The flooring, he's prepared to go in and take up at his own cost, the flooring. As many artifacts as he can get out of the building, possibly some chimney, possibly mantles, that sort of thing, maybe even windows. And he's going to do it at his own cost. He would have it done in under a week, and then it's prepared for a takedown, a controlled takedown.
So you want to save some of the components of it?
Yes, yeah. And
purposes.
It's heartbreaking to see these things. We lost a building here in the last year, I believe, the Ripple Wharf, and some of the lumber, the ironwork and stuff of that was historic, and I think it was a gross oversight not to allow salvage companies to grab those and use them. I put up structures using wood that's 200 years old. It's perfectly usable, and but just obviously the plaster is full of mold. That's got to go before they could get at the wood. But there's a number of companies that are prepared to bid, and rather have them I'd like to know if they're, no sense putting proposals together if it's a fait accompli that the original, demolition order was granted. If they're gonna hold to that, they've said that they can accomplish this over a week to 2 week period at a cost that was, well below what was bantered around $70,000, and still recapture many of the components of the building. That's in addition to the gentleman that's prepared to, he's taken down 300 to 500 buildings in Atlantic Canada, historic churches, barns, and I've used his lumber over the past 20 or 30 years. Some of it's made its way to Chester. And so I'd like to know if there's a possibility that those companies could, if it was opened up again for tender, and it wasn't a situation whereby this would take months to take down instead of the usual days to week. It could be done over a 2 week period. If the tenders were awarded to these people, they would, basically the thing would be gone by Christmas, if not before, depending on weather. I have a retired mason that has suggested, for instance, the stones, and that's why I talk about the gorgeous monument to the building would be to actually leave the granite in place. The details of filling in the basement and that sort of thing, and maybe even a small plaque in honor of the most recent curators for donating the property. The park is absolutely fabulous. I've got to commend. I have reservations initially, but I think it's going to be a tremendous success. Very natural beauty. If you haven't gone to the back of the place, I don't know if you're allowed to yet, but I have. And the park is going to be beautiful there. I think that's going to be an add-on.
Oh, it's a nice piece of property. We've added to it.
Yes, the trail is phenomenal. I'm still anti four-wheeler, but you don't find those in the historic parks. But that'll sort itself over time, I'm sure. Whether or not there'll be four-wheeler activity there, but and also but again the building itself, it's heartbreaking to walk through right now. I don't know if I can be around on tear down day, but. I would recommend that we go with a company that would try to salvage as much as possible out of the building. The $4,000 that the guys offered in contents, trust me, we've got a lot of people down there looking at what's there, and it's mold ridden, and he's prepared, he'd make a donation to the, rather than to both societies. I'm suggesting that he make it to the Chester Municipal, and Carol is aware of that, and she's happy to receive the funds.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions?
Well, right this minute, we don't have a tender, or we'd have to go out again. Do I think we should salvage the historic material as opposed to taking it to the landfill?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I would need staff to tell me how can we break it up in that fashion, how do we do all that?
I'm suggesting, the companies that are suggesting is they would come in and work in conjunction with the salvage people. And so when you just take a massive claw and go through the buildings as you do in most occasions, there's nothing salvaged.
Yeah, it's how do we tender that and add that component into it? And I mean, that's something we'd have to give some thought to, I guess.
No problem. Food for thought.
Yeah. But I mean, it makes sense that the material be, the historic material be salvaged.
Yeah.
As opposed
Much
to
as
just throwing
possibly
away.
used, I wouldn't want to see a repeat of where the contents and all were, destroyed. And, economically, it's just barely feasible to take anything out of the building as it is right now. But at least we know we've got someone that's prepared to do contents and floors, exterior to the, extraneous to the actual.
Well, we still have a ton of furniture and all kinds of stuff in there that, most people don't even know what all's in there. So
a lot of it has gone array since I initially looked at the building and then went back in again and again the day before I got the keys and I was taking responsibility for contents. There's an 1850s piano and tracks, and it's gone. And you know, how many other things have gone that way, but I took responsibility for the contents. And I didn't have another storage place, but the degree of mold there, a quick trip to it would confirm what I'm saying here right now. I mean, we wouldn't have possibly entered the building.
Oh, it's been sat and vacant, unheated for years now.
We restored, we insured the building for 2 years. We had restored the power down there, but it was gone beyond, and we experimented with the interior and exterior for various mold remediation. And the exterior actually sets a couple of spots. You know, at some point over time, if the building was going to be saved, it would have had to replace the clapboard. The roof was shot, but the boards were solid, you know, so the bones were still basically in the building, and it was right on the edge. And if we had some, you know, phenomenal benefactor that had silly money, which we didn't find, you know, everything in this world is possible, but just it's not economically feasible under the budgets that we could foresee in the near future.
Well, I guess we'll just have to, now that we've heard all this, staff will prepare some options for us. And,
Yep.
you know,
I will, and
but unfortunately, removing it probably is what's going to happen.
Yes, I understand that.
But it's just the process by which we go through that and how we can accommodate what you're suggesting.
I'm happy to work with the parties that be in any way, shape, or fashion to try to put our best foot forward so you can go home at night and sleep and know that you've done all you possibly can to rectify the situation, right?
Yeah. Okay, unless somebody else has comments.
No, just a question, where would the home be for these artifacts that you would like to
No, what I'm thinking,
building?
what I'm hoping is that the home for these artifacts would be, listen, they're not so much historical artifacts, it's just artifacts at this stage of the game as far as contents go. And I don't like to see stuff wasted, you know, and thrown out. There's furniture, there's odds and ends, the mantelpiece. So the idea is that in conjunction with they would be sold off if there's anything of any particular value. So at least it's used, not wound up in landfill.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'd have to go on. It's been quite some time since I've been in. I can't even remember what all was there, but I know it was full of stuff, you know. So
I live 2 minutes away. I still have a key.
Yeah. So
if you'd like to.
Yeah. So before we tore it down, I mean, we would determine what to do with the contents.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Yeah. And I guess I had a number of people through that were, you know, in the business, and some just hit the doorstep and walked out. It was just.
Last time I remember, you went in, the dining room table was full of plates and silverware and all that kind of stuff. I mean, so you're probably not going to throw it out if there's somebody who wants it.
I've had a very experienced guy that's in that business who literally walked through it in 5 minutes and determined the silver was gone. It's just a plate that sits there.
It was sterling.
It's been picked pretty clean as far as real, you know, essential value. There's a few little pieces that are still there, but again, the cost of cleaning them when you got mold in the fabrics, and it's just astronomical. Because you find right now that I have furniture all the time. I've got 4 ladder back chairs I've had in the market for $350. I mean, they should be $500 a chair each, but the kids all want IKEA stuff.
And I don't remember what artwork is still there. I mean,
walls been cleaned out. They were cleaned out before I got there. Yeah, so I have no
we'd
idea.
have to go in and assess it. Yeah, I don't remember. It's been so long.
I think the Chester, they did have a lot of it was donated with
some stuff was donated to Heritage
and they've
Society.
still got stuff in storage they're trying to sell.
Yeah.
Just talked to Carol recently again.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for the time.
Okay, and we'll keep in touch and
I'll
take care of yourself.
I will. I'll formalize the report as soon as I can. I've just learned how to read and write again. I have a new computer.
Take care of yourself.
Voice text. Thank you so much.
To answer questions if there's any on this, so we can, it's when we discuss.
Oh, when we get to that part, so it's not now.
Yeah.
Okay. No, we moved the 8.1 right to that part. And just trying to keep track of it. 9.1 then, I think. Request for decision, infrastructure operations, J-Class Road, revised evaluation matrix. This should be fun.
Council.
Morning.
Long time no see.
Just to comment on Mr. Cambria's comments earlier, he makes a very good point, and one that cannot be argued against, where the current system does possibly favour Valley Road, for example, is that it does have schools, it does have businesses on it, so it's
the traffic jam.
the traffic, the volume, and all the rest of it. So and it's not simply the road condition, even though it is a road condition programme. So that's what I would say to that. By all means, we can go out and reevaluate the roads, because, you know, we can see that Valley Road is at 1, and you know, I'm pretty sure that it isn't at 1. So I'll sort of take responsibility for that.
You're pretty sure it's not a 1?
Well, 1 is excellent condition. 5 is bad. 5 is the worst, hazardous.
Yeah, okay.
So
You don't think Valley Road's in good condition, is what you're saying?
well, 1 would typically be it's brand new. It's just been installed. A 2 would be, you know, 2 to 5 years old typically.
The point being, it's a road that shouldn't be in the top 3 based on its condition.
Yeah, but
More than likely,
we
yeah.
reevaluate condition.
But like I say, it benefited from having the businesses and the schools.
Yeah,
and
that's why last time we talked about putting bigger score on condition, not on good condition.
Yeah.
We're not interested in repaving roads that are in good condition.
No.
I mean, Stevens Road, which is probably the worst road, even though it's not your number 1 priority, it's got a 5.
Yeah.
Worse it is, you can't even drive down that
Yeah.
road. I mean, it's atrocious.
Well, we did apply the changes that were discussed at the last meeting. So this latest one that's included in your package does reflect those changes. So we did as instructed.
They didn't do a very good job.
Well, we can only do what we're told.
That's right.
That's what
That's
they
right.
were instructed to do.
That's right, exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yes, Andre.
So, Pig Loop Road, which comes up a lot, is always at the top of our list. Now, when you drive that road, to me, you know, there are many J-class roads we have, 68, and if we're talking about strictly condition, I don't feel like it may have a couple potholes, but it's not.
Now,
It's not a
sight
terrible road.
distances and things like that on that.
It does have safety issues if you're a pedestrian because of the shape of the road that has been there since it was built. And when people walk down that road, if they're coming from the arena or wherever, like there's a bad corner there. And there's a couple of blind corners on that road that would benefit from a sidewalk or whatever. But are we, with Pig Loop Road, for example, are we intermixing those 2 issues? Like it seems like I said, I'm on that road a fair bit, and it's far. If we're talking about condition, as Derek, as you say, that is our most important priority. I fail to see how I would rank Pig Loop Road number 2 on our list of worst roads, because it's certainly not a bad road, actually. I mean, it just might have a pothole or 2 that could be filled.
You make it sound a lot better than it actually is.
Well, I was on it last night.
I'm on it every day.
But I mean, do you think it's our second worst road in terms of condition?
No, I think it's probably our worst road.
For safety.
But for safety,
Mhm.
because we have the daycare there, we have the rink there, that's a walking area. We have to consider the danger, not just of the pothole, but of the whole road.
I guess with respect to that one road, because it's a big deal. So if we were to pave that road, it would actually exceed the budget that the province has for the entire,
There's no such thing as a
for all
beach.
J-class roads.
But Pig Loop is more than paving, as we know. That's why we have, supposedly we had the agenda in September, never came. I assume we'll make it here in October. We have a study on the Pig Loop with a $1.6 million budget to do what we had proposed, which is probably doubled by now. We had to deal with the Pig Loop, but maybe not under this program.
No, it's a different, I think it's a different there's some parts of it that need to be fixed that have nothing to do with
It's
this.
gotta come back to us at some point.
Yeah, and I feel like this J-Class Road issue and Pig Loop being like a priority, I feel like that's something that this council could pull out. Because I think there's actually Pig Loop and the Commons Road, and there's a number of other roads probably within our municipality we could identify that would benefit from a better active transit system that is separate from surfacing a road. Like, I feel like we've pushed Pig Loop to the top because we have an active transit issue there. So if you're cycling or if you're walking on that road, it's hazardous. And that's why it's rose to the top, because we recognize that, and this is the way we're dealing with it. But I feel like we should be honest about what the issue is, and then if we feel that's a priority and we want to talk about it, then we should have that discussion and allocate money. And it's within, the nice thing about that is it's actually 100% within our purview to fix it if we choose to do so. We don't have to hide behind the province's lack of funding of J-Class roads and complain that they're not being good partners and all that stuff. You know, if we really are honest about the issue and we think it's a priority, then we can do it. And if we don't think it's a priority, then we can stop talking about it. And I think I agree that it is a priority. I am actually on your side here on this issue.
Repaving.
But I don't think that if this thing had brand new asphalt, it still would be hazardous.
That's right. That's what I'm saying, we have to deal with it.
So what I'd like to see here is actually, I'd like this council to take and identify those roads that need active transportation system of sidewalk or something installed for safety reasons, and let's have a discussion about how we want to address that and make a plan over the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years, whatever we're going to do, and roll that out so that we can eliminate these issues and start belly, and then we can stop talking about surfacing them, because that's really not the issue, I think.
I agree.
I think we all agree that repaving it, first off, we're not gonna get enough money to do it anyway, because there isn't enough. Second, even if we did do it, it doesn't solve anything like the safety issues, so there's no point in it. But we've got to come to some conclusion on how we want to evaluate these roads. Tina first.
Thank you. And again, it's not about the evaluation J-Class and ranking, but I want to just continue on with Andre's comments here around sidewalks and active transportation. We do have a plan ahead, is that not correct? In terms of identifying, we've gone through that exercise in terms of identifying the series of sidewalks.
Yeah.
Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. So that is on the list. And we do have that identified. And we do have the need and the concern around the municipality in terms of active transportation in each of our areas in terms of the sidewalk listing. Is that correct?
Correct. That was part of the ICIP
Yes.
program. So there is sidewalks planned in the next 5 years, and Big Loop is on there,
Yeah.
New Ross is on
Yes.
there. There's a few of them on there.
Yes.
So those are coming in the next 5 years. And that's why we're always hesitant on Pig Loop. Because if we go and pave it this year and we put a sidewalk in next year, we're ripping up that new pavement.
That's a waste of time.
Exactly.
Nobody wants that, but we need to get it back on our agenda.
Well, it is on.
It is on the agenda.
It just isn't this year for it.
No.
Exactly.
The traffic study work, we did say we would come back in September, but with vacations and some of the other priorities, we had a couple of storms that we had public works staff busy with. So that's actually scheduled now for November 2nd for a workshop, I believe, Manny, is that the date?
That's the plan.
November 2nd.
Okay, Floyd was next.
Yeah. We're really struggling out of that trying to get a criteria. I just wondered, have we reached out to other municipalities and what they use for criteria? Well, they must have the same issue we have, and we seem to be confused with the idea of a road, with the condition of the road. And to me, it's paving, it's all about the paving.
Condition.
The rest of it is something that we should be sending off to highways and trying to get them to deal with it, because we're not going to fix Pig Loop Road with ditching and all those issues that they have. That's not our job. Our job is surfacing only. And there must be a criteria to measure surface. And we do have to look at usage in school buses and all those things. But the key thing to me is the surface of the road. And if they're terrible, terrible, terrible potholes and people are smashing their cars, they should be number one on the list. So I think we gotta concentrate more on the issue that we're dealing with than the issue that highways should be dealing with. But that's my honest opinion on it, because we can sit here and argue about what road should be at the top for 16 years and we're not gonna solve it, because we all have different opinions on that.
We have to send a list in when?
The end of the month.
End of the month.
I don't think that's a hard thing to do. I don't. There's no money. Pretty simple. There's no money available, so if we're willing to put some of our money up and do one road, or if it comes back like that, then there's no money available. There's $2 million between the whole province, so I don't do anything.
1 million, yeah. So we'll be lucky if we get anything. Abdallah.
Yeah, everybody around the table knows how I feel about this. I mean, we've gone, but Derek, so you went and told our staff that
I didn't tell staff.
well, you suggested they use a different matrix. So they come back, and we're gonna have this conversation all the time. And you know how I feel? I have the second most J-class roads in my district. And we as councilors know which roads should be on that list. And as I said,
Based on the criteria of.
based on the criteria that we see in our district.
Complaints.
Complaining.
Yeah, so those, my solution is simple. We each pick 2 roads in each district. And I'm willing to live with that, with my constituents. That I know that if North Street in Western Shore is terrible and it needs to be on that list, I will ask to have that on the list. I mean, we gotta make it, this is crazy. The staff is.
Which one's gonna be number 1? What criteria are we using for that?
Well, it doesn't matter because the list is from 1 to 10. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. I'm fine.
How many, we have 68 J-class roads?
Yeah.
How many in District 3?
I don't.
A lot.
The majority.
At least half.
Yeah.
More than that, I think.
Yeah.
How many in your district?
I'm not sure exactly how many, but it's the most after.
Just the second
It's the
after.
second. So it's
So why
probably,
don't you and I sit down and decide which road to do?
pardon me?
Why don't you and I sit down and see which road to do?
Andre won't like that.
We have 90%. We have
You got a couple
90%
in
of
his district.
Between us, we have 90%. You have a
Yes.
couple.
Well, I can't help that, you have 90%, but I'm saying, we're going around in circles here.
I only have one that's very
So,
short.
so
we'll probably
my
get nothing
my
to do
solution is, I'll pick 2 in my district, he'll pick 2 in his district, whoever's got, Tina,
Not gonna
unfortunately, Tina doesn't have any in her district. So,
Give
and
Derek her two.
I'm just trying to find a solution here because this is crazy. We can't agree on, the poor staff here are trying to juggle 8 balls in the air with no hands. It doesn't make sense.
We're driving them crazy, and I'll say that, they don't have to. Because we keep changing our minds from one week to the next.
Well, we look to the professionals to tell us what the criteria should be. The last criteria, and the question I asked is, we changed criteria last year, which bumped Walker Road from 3rd to 50th. And I asked, how did that happen? Still don't know. Never got an explanation, never will. And then we looked at the condition of the road. And condition of the road, that criteria was only 30%. It said, and to Floyd's point, condition of the road probably should be 100%. So I said, let's.
Unless nobody's using it.
That could be part of the discussion, definitely, but I mean, that could be a
That's where you start.
That's where you start.
To have Valley Road as number 3 and Stevens Road as number 7 makes no, even though Stevens Road is in your area, makes absolutely no sense on the ground. I mean, maybe if you plug in a 1 here and a 2 there and a 3 there, you're gonna come up with some numbers. Someone can explain them, but it's got to be, the condition has to be, we're not gonna be paving Valley Road and not touching Stevens Road or Chester Downs Road.
So what do we want to submit?
I don't know.
Surely we can come to an agreement that for this year, pick a couple of roads to give staff and then work on the rest.
Andre?
Well, I thing is, we're talking out of both sides of our face here.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, we're like, well, we need criteria and all that stuff, and when they come with criteria, and we're like, well, I know on the ground that this one's way worse.
I know on the ground.
So, in reality, that is the case. I think, you know, if we had a short list made by staff that say these are the ones that are in the worst shape, I think in terms of priority or like importance, which is that what we're trying to use the other criteria to determine, we know that part. Like, we don't need to know if it's a school bus route or if there's a business there or whatever. We know which ones are the most important. So the only real criteria that we need to come back from staff is which ones are the worst roads.
We have that, 5s.
Right, great.
No.
And then we can arm wrestle or do whatever we want to do here to determine which ones we're going to put on the list this year. You know, there's not enough money. We're only going to get maybe
We're lucky if we get one.
So I'm happy to see Chester Downs finally on the top 10, but I mean, that who knows? They're going to throw rocks at my truck when I drive down. They're going to throw part of the road at my truck next time I go down there.
You go right ahead and say something. I hope you do. I hope it's
I
something.
just have one question. Tammy, the asset condition rating, the ACR,
Yes.
would that be the score that council needs to look at to determine worst condition to best condition? 5s are the worst,
Yes,
1s
correct.
are the best.
So
So if that's the information that you want and then you want to rate from there, you have that information.
we could sort this by 5s and forget about the other criteria for now and just go by the actual condition of the road, and the list would drastically change.
Somewhere to start.
So where the road surface condition is also a criteria here, so how does that fit?
That is the ACR, that is road surface condition.
Oh, well, there's 2 columns here, one has road surface condition and one has road asset
rated,
condition.
isn't it?
There's only one rated. There's only one that's rated.
They're both rated.
The surface score is the rated one.
Is the 1 to 5,
Yes, 1 to 5, yeah.
right there.
It's the one that's weighted at 60%. That's what we would sort it on.
So which column do I look at? The weighting 60%, or do I look at the column that says
The
road
surface.
asset condition, or do I
So-
look at the one that says road surface score?
We would sort it on the road surface score, which the weighting is just how we get to 100%. So if we just sorted it on road surface score, and it would go 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, 1s,
So
then
now-
all your 5s would be at the top.
So you just said, Tara, would be road asset condition.
Yeah, what's the difference between road surface score and
Otherwise
road
we're
asset
confused.
condition rating?
I don't know.
There is probably duplication there, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's only the road surface that's part of this,
The actual
that comes up
calculations.
with a
Okay,
calculation.
so they need to look at road surface score in the dark blue,
Correct.
and that would be, the 5s would be in the worst condition, and the 1s would be in the best condition.
Correct.
And you're basically just looking at surface.
Just the
And that's
surface.
just looking at surface, that's not looking at safety of the road, volume of traffic, that's just
Just
looking at the
what the surface
condition of the
condition is.
pavement.
Yeah. So I want to address also the ones at the bottom. The ones that were moved to the bottom were the ones that we actually knew had been paved in the last 5 years, so we took them out of consideration. We could have did that with the other ones, that's where we should have dropped those down as well, but not highlight them as paved.
And you say at the bottom, you mean the ones in brown?
Yes, yeah.
That's a starting point.
Yeah, we only got a couple weeks to decide which one we're putting in.
Well, if we pick the condition ones here, 1 to 5, there's 5 up here already.
So what do you want to do?
I want to do what I want to do. Derek, you pick the 2 roads.
Yeah,
Derek, I want to ask you, Derek, which 2 roads would you like on? Tell me which 2 roads you would like on there. You must have some idea.
Old Trunk 3 and Pig Loop.
Pardon me?
Old Trunk 3 and Pig Loop.
But we've already determined Pig Loop.
He asked me a question.
Yeah,
Answered his question.
yeah. And that's fair. Yeah. Well, I know which 2 I would like on. Andre knows which 2 he would like on, I'm sure.
But from a practical point of view, I know that's not gonna work. I wanna see how the Old Trunk 3, the request for a sidewalk that I wanna get put on that. I don't know, active, not part of the active transportation, but we did talk to them, get it started in the process for a sidewalk from Highway 3, presumably on the right-hand side of the Commons Road. So I'd like to see that done the same way we're going to do Big Loop, hopefully eventually under that active transportation. So 1 and 2 on our list can't happen under the J-class road program, but it has to happen under something. Valley Road is number 3. It's crazy to put that ahead of some of the other ones. It just doesn't make any sense.
Stevens.
One in the top 5.
So Stevens is up, right up there, Stevens Road.
Here, why don't you give them the list as the way you got it figured out.
One in the worst condition is Stevens Road, which is in the top 10 or 7.
So I was looking at, if you take the list with the condition ratings that you've asked for and the weightings that you've asked for, and then you take the ones that are number 4 or 5, you can pick those top 4, like the top 5 or top 10 that are rated 4s and 5s, and just kind of go down that list. So you would end up with Forest Village, Stevens, Chester Downs, Vaughan Road, and Swinimer Road. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those would be your top 5.
And you put them in, see what happens.
That's not gonna make Darren happy. I don't think there's a single one in his district.
We have most of them. Maybe ours are all paid. Is that what's happening?
Honestly. Hard.
I don't think so. Maybe some did get paid. I recognize that.
I guess we need to make a decision
Something
in the
has
next
to
2 to 3 weeks, so
Well, that's 5.
yeah.
They want top 10, put Walker Road in there, and there's a couple of other bad ones around Derek's district that.
But having said that, Andre,
That's not the way you do it.
so having said that, I mean, we already discussed Walker Roads need so much infrastructure, so it doesn't make sense
Pacing the distance.
to spend
doesn't solve it.
50-cent dollars of our dollars on something that should be fixed before you pave it.
But presumably the province, if they agree to Walker Road,
Yeah, well.
They may do that.
would be the underpinnings. I mean,
There is some reason to believe that they might.
I think they probably aren't gonna put it on marshmallows. They're gonna fix the substrate before they put on the asphalt.
We hope.
No, but I'm saying for us to, I would want to see
It's their
that done
project.
first.
We're just funding.
Yeah, I don't know how they came up with the 4 or 5. You said you're gonna go back and take a look at Valley, because you think that was improperly scored. I'm not convinced these scores are carved in stone. I'm not gonna agree to anything, it doesn't include something from the village.
Can we just bring it then back with, just strip away all the other stuff and just bring this back, just sort this in accordance with, and just bring it back and let's have that
Top 10.
fine, we'll just get those
Top 10
WWF.
based on what?
What are we
Right, we'll just all fight.
stripping away? Stripping away the condition, like all the weightings and stuff, and just bringing back the condition ratings?
It's made it very complicated here, and I think nobody's gonna be happy. There's not enough money to fix, we got 1 bucket of water and 20 buildings on fire.
You're gonna be lucky to get one road.
So that's what the situation is. There's no happy story here. We just have to decide which one we're the most happy about, or least unhappy.
Do you want gravel roads in that as well? Because gravel roads can be paved under this program, but
No.
they're an automatic 4 or 5 because they're a
No.
gravel road.
We'll just, what?
Do you wanna pave gravel road?
Well, Tammy just said if you guys are going on condition, that would move Swinimer Road out. Correct?
Is that gravel road?
Yes, it is, but I'd like to see it paved. So, I mean, you could sit here all day and say, if we're strictly gonna use the J-class program as roads that are paved, as Tammy says, it really doesn't, this is a J-class road that's not paved, but we can apply to have it paved.
How do you compare the condition of a dirt road to an asphalt road? I mean, a good rainstorm, it turns it from best road going, gravel road, to the worst. Like, how do you compare those things?
Well, in that case, like Stanford Lake Road,
in the last storm, it was the worst. And, you know.
3 days later, it was the best.
Well, I wouldn't say that, it probably could be paved and, you know, there's potential there for growth and it's going to happen and it's a good road to pave.
Stanford Lake Road is a 4.
Pardon me?
Stanford Lake Road is a 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
Depending on when you drive it. The graders go through, then it's a 1.
Workshop or so.
We don't have time. We don't have council next week, so on the 26th, we have to submit something, or else we're not gonna have anything on the list.
Right.
I think we should discuss it at the DOT meeting, I don't know if it makes any sense, to see if in fact we put Walker Road forward, would they be doing the underpinnings of it as part of the process?
I don't know if they know that they're gonna, but
Well, they probably know more about it than we do.
yeah. Well, you can bring it up there, but all I know is if you want us, staff have to know what list you want them to bring
Well,
back.
I think we wanted to bring back the ones in worst condition.
So that would be the top 10 in the worst condition.
And that's based on, I just want to be clear, and that's based on J class, regardless if it's paved or not. Because that's the criteria they're going to use.
Okay?
They're going to use that criteria, because there's a lot of J class roads here that aren't paved. But they're available for this program.
In terms
So-
of, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just in terms of the condition rating and Walker, or Valley Road potentially not being a 1 and being a 2, when was the last time we went out and did the condition rating?
I went out in August.
August, yeah.
So if it has like 1 or 2
That's
potholes,
relatively new.
it's still 1, yeah. The surface is pretty solid and there's no massive damage, it's still a 1 or a 2. We could make it a 2, so it's not perfect.
But it still wouldn't move it
Still wouldn't
into a
get to the
5.
top.
No, it would not go into a 4, 5, or 3.
We don't want to do 1s and 2s.
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
So I think we've got the 4s and 5s, and we're
4s and
pretty
5s.
confident that the 4s and 5s are the 4s and 5s.
Yes.
So do we want them to come back with that list? Because we have to decide something.
Yep.
Okay, do that.
Well, one final comment, if I can, that, because we talked about how some of the roads that we've been, you know, that have made it on this list have been a high priority for us. It's related to safety. And yes, we have a plan in place to do some sidewalks, but I don't feel like we've ever had the discussion where we sort of like talked about the 2 things at once, where we've talked about our sidewalks and what we plan to do with the safety lens. I feel like a lot of it had to do with connecting places of importance or making an active transportation corridor from a trail to some other place. But I don't feel like that discussion, at least not to my recollection, has been how do we deal with safety issues on some of our roads. And if I would like to bring that back so we can actually have that discussion, because I know of at least 2 roads that would benefit from that discussion that aren't currently on our, like they're not on our radar for sidewalks.
I guess we can think about it.
I mean, we have to do that. It makes no sense to look at Old Trunk 3 and Pig Roof unless we look at sidewalks at the same time.
Well, it's currently not scheduled to come back and talk about it.
We're bringing back the traffic study. Is that something we can work into the traffic
I think we
study?
have to, because it all goes together.
It could be a workshop around the traffic study and
Traffic
a
study
transportation
was only in the
upgrades.
village
Yes,
stuff.
correct, yeah.
Yeah, so that has nothing to do with the rest of the municipality.
No.
So,
But it also deals with what are presently number 1 and 2 on our list.
yes, I'm just telling you that the traffic study in and of itself does not have anything to do with the rest
Well,
of the
then let's talk
municipality.
about it standalone. I don't care how we talk about it. Just, I feel like we need to talk about it because we're trying to push it into other things like J-class or traffic study, whatever. It deserves to be flushed out if we're interested in dealing with this issue or not. And let's be honest about it. And if people complain, we'll just say it wasn't a priority or it was.
Just for the record, I think count the numbers, the village or the District 3 has 40 of the 68 J-class roads.
Oh, hell, it's where most of them are. Yeah. Anyway, they'll come back with that list and how we deal with sidewalks and stuff, that'll come back when we get back into that discussion.
We'll put it on the workshop list.
We're gonna have that discussion on November 2nd, right?
On the traffic study.
Yeah, and we're gonna include that bit that Andre talked about.
I don't know how it ties in with the traffic study when you're dealing with the entire municipality and there's no traffic study for the rest of the municipality.
We'll deal with what we have a traffic study for.
Yeah, but that doesn't make them priorities across the municipality, because we don't have traffic studies.
They're made priority, we did the traffic study.
In your district,
Yeah.
but not in mine.
So we don't do anything because we need a traffic study in your district now?
I'm just telling you that we don't have a traffic study, any results other than in the village. So when we determine where we're gonna build sidewalks, shoulders, and safety issues and connecting the community, the traffic study doesn't help for the rest of us,
So what was the purpose of the traffic study?
for the village of Chester.
Yeah, so why don't we have a discussion about that?
Well, of course, it's already on the list, we've been doing it, it's coming back, but
We talked about
it's just that how we prioritize sidewalks will not be determined other than in the village by that study.
Although the old trunk 3 is not in the village, most of it is.
No, I'm just saying that we have other issues in other communities that will be our different priorities than based on the Chester traffic study.
We can talk about those, you don't need a study to discuss anything, you get enough around the table, we can talk about it.
I've said all I have to
You don't have
say.
an independent study every time you want to talk about something.
Yes,
Also, just to throw in the mix, just for the fun of it, because we're having fun, would be the data that we have collected so far with the pole-mounted speed radar units, which again, unfortunately, if you will, are only in 2 areas at the moment, but I know in the district in which I reside, the numbers, the first week, I haven't seen them after that, but the first week are tremendously scary. And I don't know if they still continue to be that way, Tammy.
They're still high. They haven't hit triple digits. Hubbard's is triple digits.
What are we
We
talking
hit triple already.
So what
You
we're
hit
talking
triple the
about
first
is
day.
the fact that the speed radar unit in New Ross is located by the fire department as you come from Kenfield towards Chester. And that's the area, a year or so down the road, in the next grouping of sidewalks. In that particular area of where we're capturing the tremendous speeds similar to in Hubbard's. So that's what we're talking about.
We have one more approved. Derek has a location approved. I'm just waiting for the equipment to show up.
Well, but we need them all approved, so we'll get there. But I just thought I'd add that, Alan. Thank you for allowing me to do that, since we're talking about the traffic impact study and everything else.
okay, so I'll come back to the list.
Full set bar and you're off.
Okay, unless somebody objects, I'm gonna move to, this is the one that most people are here for.
Thanks, Todd.
Yeah,
So it would be this correspondence.
to the correspondence 10.1, because I think that the discussion on,
That's going to the workshop anyway.
oh, that's going to a workshop, okay. So I'm on to 10.1 anyway. Yeah, okay, 10.1.
It's 10.1. Oh. That one.
Set your weight, Andre.
Yeah, so, are you looking for preamble from me? I can give it.
Well, yes.
All right, so,
What about?
we have a slipway in Blandford, near an old government wharf, that has been turned over to the private sector. The slipway is well used in the area by Blandford Marine and some other private users. And adjacent to the slipway is a beach that resides on provincial land that's well used by the community recreationally. It's been for generations. At some point, well, I'm sure the dates are in here, but an industrial operation sort of occurred where a barge full of scrap steel from a beached vessel was put adjacent our slipway on sort of at that top of the beach. And it created quite a stir in the community, to say the least. It used quite a lot of my time, and also I think municipal staff's time and the province's time, trying to address all this salvage material. This correspondence, unsolicited, came from some residents in the community, and they're trying to figure out how or why this happened, and basically how we can prevent it in the future. And I also saw some photos that were sent to me yesterday. I haven't shared them, but basically there's still little bits of steel and stuff in this area where there's kids and all the rest.
Still happening?
Well, most of the material's gone, but I mean, it was all rusty steel and stuff. So it's,
Yeah.
but there's little bits of sharp debris, it's a mess. And, they're not even satisfied with the way it's been,
Cleaned up.
yeah. I think the remediation attempt by the contractor who put the material there was to take the big chunks away eventually, and there was significant public pressure for him to do so, and then covered over with gravel. Well, obviously that's gonna wash away, and then you still have little bits of stuff. So here we are. So this correspondence, they're wondering, how did it happen? And how do we prevent it from happening again? And they really don't even know how to deal with, because there's no obvious path. Like, how do we even get them, Buddy's left, he's got his steel, he put it to wherever he took it, and, how do they deal with, is it their job now to come and try to rake up the mess? I mean, it's the province's land, we don't have any way to force them to do anything, and so there's a bunch of things all in this. There's two other items in the agenda which I've asked to have them all lumped together because they are related, and I'll just speak to that quickly here. So one was, it was incorrectly labeled in the package, but what it should have read was like the wharves and docks bylaw, wharves and slipway, or
slipways policy.
yeah, whatever it is, yeah. But in short, part of this issue is that we allow abuse of our slipways and docks by individuals that abuse them. So, for example, in Chester, and you'll probably have heard about this, Derek, sometimes you'll find that there's people who will go against our municipal float, and they'll lay there for days on end. That's supposed to be for people that are coming in for an hour or two to get lunch at the restaurant, and then pop in the boat and go. And that's exactly what it's for. If you want to fish off that dock or whatever, people lay there for days sometimes. In this case, the contractor, with his barge full of scrap metal and an excavator and a porta potty, put his equipment in our slipway for days. So it was blocked and nobody could use it.
Do you have a bylaw to prevent that?
We do. It says it's not allowed, but
Well, we don't force our bylaw.
We have a policy, so this is a policy.
and this is, I think we need to add teeth to this, because, oftentimes, like if a boat lays against that float, we'll go down, we'll try to find out who has it, we'll say, no, you can't do that. Eventually they wander down and take their boat away and could be there next week doing the same thing, I think that if we do that, we give them one warning. It should be one warning, and if they do it again, then we impound their vessel and take it somewhere, and they can pay to have it removed. Like, why do we continue to allow people to abuse it over and over again? It's wrong.
So you're looking to revise our policy on the public?
That's one piece. I think that beach that's adjacent
The waterfront.
yes, the beach that it's been used as basically as a park for the community for a long time. So what's our plan for that? I mean, it's clearly important to our community. We have a deed for the slipway, but I would request that this council direct staff to seek out like some sort of, like legitimize that park, so that we actually have some control over what happens on it.
Yeah, we don't own the property.
We have a deed for $1 that we for the slipway. But if somebody is abusing that beach, we don't really have any way to send our bylaw enforcement in there to deal with it. So that's part 3 to this whole thing.
We need to change our policy, agree to, also need to amend our bylaw.
So there's 2 parts, so 3 parts. One, there's the letter in front of us.
Yes.
How did this happen? Why did this happen? What are we gonna do? So that's that. Then there's, how is it that when we have municipal infrastructure for marine structures that we own, so we, like the slipway or your float or any other facility we have, why is it that we allow abuse and we have no way to address that? That's 2. And 1, we have a park that's like, it's not official. It's the province's land, it's used by the community. We could seek out to have that to have that as a municipal park, and then we can actually offer protections to it. 3, it's 3. So those are the 3 things we have to address today, I feel, or at least provide some direction to staff.
I agree, 100%.
So we can have staff take a look at that.
I think the most immediate concern, Andre, is to get the shards of metal out of there right now. I mean, I know the other part you're talking about, but obviously the province, you know, if and we may all be, who knows when the province does. I think that we should get it cleaned out of there as best we can as a municipality, because I mean, we don't have to ask the province to go in there and do that, because they won't do it.
No, I can contact the contractor and tell him to go.
Yeah, I don't know who the
contractor's
contractor.
gonna do that.
Yeah, I don't know who the
But I
contractor.
mean, I do.
Oh, okay, well then there you go, yeah. The contractor should do it, actually.
Yeah, well, I thought he did. See, I didn't, but I.
I mean, you can go in there with a metal detector and
Yeah.
easily get that stuff out of there. I mean, yeah.
It's important.
So that's the first step, yeah, to me, yeah. And the other stuff, I do agree with you, Andre, actually.
Well, I mean, I don't even know, like, they feel that we allowed this.
No, well, look, I know what where you're going. I gave him permission. I didn't know whether I could or couldn't. It wasn't even my property. I knew that. He called me on the Saturday and asked me whether or not I had received all these complaints about it being tied up at the wharf. I said I didn't know what he was talking about. I hadn't heard anything. He told me that he had gotten all kinds of calls from Danielle, who had gotten all kinds of complaints. They wanted it moved away from the wharf. And he told me what it was, and that he was trying to get it was scrap metal from a boat he'd retrieved that was sunken, and he needed to get it ashore to get it removed. I mean, somehow he had to get it ashore. So he asked if he could put it on that there spot out of the way of people. And I said, well, how long will it take you to get rid of it? He said, a week. And I knew he had to do something. So I said, yes, I guess that's the best plan. I didn't know what else to tell him. He had to go somewhere. I didn't know what other piece of property to tell him to take it to.
There's 2 things in the letter that are concerning though, the last 2 paragraphs. It talks about Department of the Environment and their approach, their inaction, I guess, that he's talking about. We had any discussion with environment? Should we have some discussion with environment?
I spoke to environment. I contacted them to inspect this,
Okay.
and they went out. They don't feel that there's any issue there in terms of deleterious effects to the environment. So this thing's been laying in the water for decades.
Yeah.
So now it's sitting on the beach. To them, it's just steel. You know, they're not interested in, you know, kids running around it, or that's not within their.
Environmentally, they're gonna look at things like, are there liquids
Or anything.
leaching into the,
The letter talks about lead, so they are concerned with lead,
Yeah, but
lead paint.
not
And
sure.
how much paint is left on it.
Because it's been there for decades.
I understand.
You know,
They also know they're talking about mitigating any potential risk.
Well, that would be some kid with bare feet walking on it and cutting himself or something, I would assume.
Well, it could be an adult too.
Well, yes, I'm not suggesting it couldn't be in there. So it's getting it cleaned up in some fashion,
Yeah.
whether it's us, the contractor, who cares? I mean, just as long as, I didn't know there was, I mean, obviously when you dump anything, there's always gonna be a piece you miss, but I didn't,
It should be the contractors. They're getting,
well,
Money
I'll
for
call
this,
them and ask them,
and-
you know, tell them to do it.
it's not adequate, and I think they need to do it first.
And if he doesn't, then we have to do it and deal with that later, but it's not even our property.
Let's the shorts cleaned up and then
And then create a better policy around it, but. Yes,
So it's not our property, but the A-OK to do this did come from the municipality.
I told him I didn't have a problem.
No,
Yes.
no, so the A-OK to do this, I'm just backing up and trying to get my thoughts together. And I'm gonna use Derek's word of being, unsettling in terms of that paragraph, but the whole thing is unsettling, not just environment's response. So, in terms of today, okay, so today is October the 12th, and we reach out to the contractor, and do we give them a time? Do we be very forceful and indicate if it's not done by, because again, we don't want to be back here, we don't meet again for 2 weeks as a body. I mean, we could call a special meeting, and we obviously could, absolutely, but just sitting here and saying that we're going to ask that contractor, it's not our property, but yet through the municipality, we did, that was our voice to say, I'm just saying, Alan. So I think we just need to put some meat to that a little bit, if we can.
Well, we can't force it. I'm gonna call him and ask him to get down and do a better job cleaning it up. We don't even own it. I couldn't give him permission. I just told him that I thought it was the best option he had available to himself and that I didn't have a problem with it as long as he got out of there in a week.
Yeah, well, it wasn't your call to make. Okay, so we're just gonna put that on the table.
Okay, this is an in-camera session.
No, it's not.
If we're dealing with this kind of stuff here.
No, we're gonna do a
Well,
right
Ray
here.
did, I don't care.
Okay, you overstepped your authority. Just as if a contractor told me to put material on the beach in Borges Point, I wouldn't tell him yes or no, because I don't have the authority to do that. I'm a policymaker. The only authority you get comes from us. So you don't have the ability to say yes or no to anybody unless we tell you that you do. Okay? So you shouldn't have said anything. And you continuing to be involved is a problem. This is a staff matter.
Well, you can call him, they can call him.
I'm not gonna call them because I'm not a policymaker.
She can call him.
Staff can, bylaw enforcement.
This caused a lot of turmoil in my community, and it cost a lot of staff time for our staff, and it cost a lot of staff time for province's staff and the MLA. And if anybody would have asked me the same thing in any other jurisdiction, I would have told them I have no comment on the matter. And you being the chair of this meeting doesn't give you the authority to say anything. So I would say in the future, this should not happen.
I thought I did what I thought was the best at the time.
Well, I hope you realize now that it wasn't.
It's problematic, yeah.
Yeah, that's a problem, but let's talk about the policy and bylaw things that we have to change. Look, your staff will
Contact.
contact them.
I'll have bylaw enforcement contact and see if they can get it cleaned up.
But going forward, would a better bylaw help in that situation?
So-
Bylaw amendment.
Yeah,
Would
so
give
we,
clarity.
I'm
we've
not
had,
talking- I'm not talking about policy, I'm talking about the bylaw.
yeah, so we've had discussions about the policy itself with Sam and the difficulty, and council, about the difficulty of enforcing it. Right now it's 2 hours, and then you have to go away for an hour, and then you can come back. And there's a 24-hour thing in there if you have a permit and you exceed the permit by more than 24 hours, that becomes an enforcement issue. But that 2-hour thing is problematic to enforce, right? We just don't have the resources to be out at all of those facilities all the time, monitoring them, so it's complaint driven. It definitely is complaint driven. And then they pull away for an hour and they come back and they're back into being in compliance with the bylaw. And then there's if we give them a permit to do something, which we didn't in this case, but if we give them a permit, then they'd have, they'd have the length of the permit, and if they exceed the permit by 24 hours, then they're in violation. So we can look at the policy and whether or not the policy needs to be put into a bylaw or into some sort of bylaw format. And so we can look at that and come back with some options for council.
Yes, please.
On how to.
But you're saying there's no bylaw?
So there's a public properties bylaw. It doesn't specifically speak to the issue we're talking about. The policy that we would enforce is the wharves and berthage and slipways policy.
It's a policy.
It's a policy.
But that doesn't,
Right, so we would look at options on whether or not there's a need to put some of that into bylaw to make it enforceable and issue fines and all that kind of stuff.
we need to do that.
I think so too.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
perfectly fine.
Okay, so we're gonna get a report on that.
Yes.
And how about extending approaching the province to see if we can make the rest of that beach a park?
If that's the direction from council, then we can approach the province and see what some options are.
I think we need to legitimize
They
what's
may
already
sell it
happening.
to us or give it to us.
Yeah.
I knew it didn't know.
Yeah, we can do that, yeah.
Okay. That's what we'll do. We're taking a 10-minute break, people.